Oh, so I'll start then. And just give me a quick, because I know it was you that initially was banging on about this AI stuff for a while, probably a couple of years ago, actually. Sorry, I
Yeah,
wasn't really
well,
paying
years ago.
much. I reckon it might have been actually. I wasn't paying much attention, but just out of interest, I have a lot of spare time at work to watch podcasts and YouTube and stuff, and I've been watching quite a bit off proper people. So I'm talking the fucking head CEO of this company, quite a few actually. Can't remember the names. Elon Musk being one of them, but a fair few of them and from across the world. So Chinese ones, Filipino, whatever, quite a few different AI specialists. And what I find, you can say disturbing or interesting or exciting, whichever dynamic you want to use, is they all seem to be saying similar. And the similar narrative I am getting from them is around this kind of element. It's that we are now in the process of some big changes, some really big changes for every human on the planet. That's the kind of narrative I get. I also get that the next 5 years, and they all seem to be saying similar on this, the next 5 years from from early this year to the next 5 years, we're going to see some pretty mental stuff happen. Also, now I'm going from Elon Musk, and they've all said the same again. So I'm just going to say them, okay? The AI people, the specialists, saying that things like, for example, I mean, you brought this up a while ago. I'm a lorry driver. They're suggesting that in the next 15 years, lorries will be automated. Now, I know they've piloted cases because I checked myself in Texas and California where they have done long distance haulage unmanned with no problems. I'm not going to go too much into details on that, but some of the interesting stuff I've heard is that they're all saying this. They're all saying that in the next 5 to 15 years, that somewhere between 20 and 40% of jobs will go or will be displaced.
All over across the field, or just in driving?
Across the field. Now, I also seen, because they've got to, ironically, you're seeing a situation where even programmers are already starting to become redundant, which is quite ironic because the AI itself, some of it is managing to reprogram itself. So that the low ranking programmers, I'm not an expert, but the low ranking ones that would have been the hot shit 10 years ago are now kind of like nothing. They don't even need them. And you're seeing this across the board, but I'm not going to go through my list of things I want to talk about here in case, unless you want to jump in. If you want to jump in, or I just carry on, it's up to you. But
I'll jump in a little bit here. If
go
you
on.
think
Go on.
I'm going off topic, then jump back in. But I'm glad that you mentioned at the start that I was talking about this years ago, because I didn't know if you remembered or not, and I did. And the first thing, what got it on my radar was it was 4 years ago. It was during the last American elections, and it was remember I pointed out a guy to you. You basically blew him off. It was God, I completely forgot his name. Andrew Yang. Remember?
Yeah, I don't remember that. I
Andrew
might have
Yang.
even watched him recently, but go on.
And he was an independent, but then he made a mistake and fucking aligned himself with the Democrats. And I ended up screwing him over. But he was interesting to me because he was talking about AI, and he was specifically talking about driving jobs and how he's done the research, he's crunched the numbers, and the driving industry will be no more after such and such a date. So we've got to put things into place now to account for all these people that are going to be out of work. And his solution to the problem was universal basic income.
Yeah.
For those that don't know, it's just basically everyone in America gets a check for about, I don't know, I think it was like $1,000 per person. It's very interesting. So you could be in a situation where you've got a household of like, I don't know, 8 adults. No, 8 adults. I don't know, say 4 adults. And that household would get $4,000 every month. And this was just because it said it was inevitable, because all our jobs are going to go because the robots are coming, basically, essentially. And We need to start talking about it now. And that was 4 years ago. So if we needed to talk about it then, we definitely need to talk about it now. And not only do I think we should talk about it now, but I think it is the subject we should be talking about, because what we've got coming around the corner, what they call a singularity. Do you know what that is?
I might have heard it. You carry on.
Well, it's a moment in history where humankind takes a leapfrog with its technology in a nutshell. So, for instance, say like you could probably say the internet was a singularity. I don't know if they class that as one. Something like, I don't know, printing press.
Yeah.
Something that really fucking takes us on to that next level.
Sorry, do you mind if on that issue, I was watching one. Yeah. Now I can't remember the term, unfortunately, but the graph. I saw the graph, and we were here on the graph, and this has all been run through the data and continuous the graph, and that's when it goes like that. And we're at this line here where it's going to go, which is kind of lining in with what you're talking in terms of singularity.
Probably something.
Basically, where shit's going to go mental, and it's going to change the world.
Yeah, we've got one. Yeah, it's around the corner. I believe. I agree with that. I believe it's around the corner. We've got to have to do something different, Rich, because all of our jobs are on the line. Even me, I do art part time, but there's fucking robots out there doing art now. Fortunately for me, I can tell the difference. I can tell the difference when a robot's done it and when a human being's done it. But the layman can't. So a lot of artists going out work. You can go online, go onto some of these websites. I'll call them dodgy websites that sell stuff. You can see people are just selling AI art. They haven't touched a pencil or anything, but they've just got some fucking software. They're banging this shit out and they're selling it online.
Can I jump in on this little bit?
Yeah, please. Yeah.
On this one. Okay. This is interesting because, you got a good point there. Now, whether human art will still have a use, kind of in a nostalgic sense, like this is real art because it's human. People buying it for that reason is probably up for debate. But when you're going back to, I've actually bothered to download a few AI softwares because I'm interested in where this is going. Yeah. I'm actually interested in it from the negative and positive, but I'm actually trying to just embrace it because I'm like everything else, probably little or fuck all meal you can do about it. So I better fucking get on board with it and try to be ahead of the game on it. So anyhow, so I started downloading some AI and I was working on some last night actually, because they have the ability now. I couldn't find a decent app to do it actually, but this because we're in the early stages and I didn't want to buy any, but I wanted to try samples on them. The early stages where you can on your phone with the app write in. I did do one, but write in what you want to see with as many prompts as possible and as much information as possible. The more information you give, the better. Just any old number, writing what you want. I don't know. I want to see Unai Emery, the Aston Villa manager, wearing a thong and dressed as a lion, running down the street, on the back of a lorry, whatever. And I couldn't find software that did that. I know you can do it though, because I've seen others do it. So you can, there is the software now to make a video. And it took, for the video that I did, I only had a quick gamble on this one because I was busy at the time, but I just put Unai Emery as a lion and it came out with Unai Emery next to like some Greek building with a lion next to it. So it weren't what I asked for, but I only give a tiny bit of information. But I'm interested in this because I quite like the idea of me and normal people who don't have access to Hollywood, who don't have access to all this stuff that you need to be in the click to get, a director, an editor, whatever, and being able to make a movie on my phone or on my laptop and it to be watchable and decent to watch, like a Game of Thrones, but I've just done at home. I quite like the idea of an opportunity to do that. So that's why I'm trying to get into it early, because I do already have ideas. I have really good. I'm not going to go too much into it, but I have an idea. But I did have a mess around with making pictures, and I was trying to draw. I was putting what I am into to see what pictures it came up with. I'll send you later, actually, if I can. I might put them in the front of this because I've written things like everything that I am. So I went, the basic bold, diamond earring, a lorry driver wearing an Aston Villa vest with gold ring, a toothpick in his mouth, good looking, but wrinkles around his face, 40, blah, blah, blah. I did it a few times, gradually did it. And, but the problem, it was coming up with what I found staggering.
It's too good looking.
Yeah, it was amazing looking. Nearly as good looking as me, but let's forget that. But what I found amazing is that if I was to ask you to do it, Si, whether you would do better or not is up for debate with the pictures that's coming. But the thing is, let's say I ask. But yeah. But so my point is,
better when I was fucking 13.
Yeah. Or if I asked you to do something like that, draw me this picture, look, because I wanted a tattoo of whatever, it would just physically, it would take you, even if you was working out, at least an hour or so. This thing fucking did it in a second.
No, you're right. Yeah, I know you can.
Yeah, there is a real problem with that. So, but it is interesting. There are positives to think of, but I am more interested for the sake on this show, more of like kind of the negatives really, because I think there's a hell of a lot of negatives to think about here. But can I carry on for a little bit more? Unless you want to jump in. Carry on. I did interrupt.
I was going to say something, but then I was waiting till you finished. That's the problem when you wait and then you forget what you're going to say.
I'll do that. That's why I've got a notepad. Get a notepad.
I have a good point, yeah. Go on now, carry on, mate. Carry on.
Okay, so going back to Elon Musk anyway, what I found interesting as well, and this is what I find interesting and actually equally disturbing, and I was always worried about this, with any issue, any technology, I was always worried about this because I know that most of our representatives, certainly in the Western world, and I'm going to speak about every government, but in my government and in American government, that the majority of them politicians, let's forget whether they're good or bad, they're mostly bad, but let's forget that. They're also idiots and disturbingly stupid. And I was watching Rishi Sunak, and I'm not being political on either side here. I was watching Rishi Sunak next to Elon Musk having a discussion. And Elon Musk was saying, well, in the end, and this is what he's saying, in the end, well, probably all the jobs are going to go. And Rishi's just laughing with his politician, because obviously the politician's still keeping his little charade going. But what I found worrying is that I don't think they are capable of planning for this. And that's what worries me, is because you've got, are our politicians capable of what could be around the corner? And B, do they give a shit about the damage it will cause? Now, there is a part of me, if you have a situation where 40 to 50% of jobs in our country, just say England, was to go in a time frame of 3 to 5 years, they have to do something because it's in their own interest. Because if they don't, you will have mayhem. That's what they did with COVID. That's why you had furlough. Because if you're going to tell people you ain't going to make a living, you can't just say, and you're going to starve, mate, because people are going to go mental. So that's what I found interesting, really, more than anything, is that, and I wish he was so out of his depth. And most politicians are like that. They're not really, and I'm not great at technology. I mean, I would argue that I'm cleverer than some of the politicians, but maybe not, maybe I am. But I certainly don't understand technology anywhere near the level of some of these people, like an Elon Musk or any of the others. They are on a different level. But did you want to get in? Because I can carry on. It's up to you.
But to be fair, I think we're in sync with our points of view there. I mean, this is why Andrew Yang sort of stood out from the rest 4 years ago so clearly. I think if any, and he did get a bit of a following, but I believe he got screwed by the Democratic Party when he went into the primaries with them. Now these colours to their mast. They fucking fucked him over. They wanted Joe Biden. Joe Biden was their man. That had a great field. They had people like Tulsi Gabbard in that field. They had Bernie Sanders again, and Andrew Yang as an independent who's hitched a ride with the Democrats, and they ended up with Joe Biden. Can you believe that? That's amazing. That's amazing.
Yeah.
I was watching Tulsi Gabbard the other day. She's just surfing. She's a warrior, and she's just she's a warrior. She was in the American Army, field medic, and she's just a video of her surfing. Like now, like she's in the mid-40s, she still surfs, and she looked absolutely fucking gorgeous. And you think to yourself, this is a smart, capable woman, and she could have been the president of the United States, but instead they chose a fucking a zombie. practically, you know,
Yeah.
somebody, an extra from The Walking Dead. It's amazing, absolutely amazing. But yeah, I am worried that the politicians aren't equipped to deal with what's coming up.
Yeah.
It's interesting that you mentioned COVID, because they did sort of, they were giving out payments, weren't they? Which is quite,
Yeah.
I think a few people did refer to it as universal basic income, which was Andrew Yang's idea all along. They might as well have just fucking voted him in and put him in charge. But yeah, it's worrying, Rich. I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen. I really don't know, because I think this is the thing with voting and stuff like that. We touched on it before when we was asking whether or not this country was a democracy or not. I kind of implied that we've got the fucking kind of democracy that we fucking voted for, because we don't pay enough attention and we fuck ourselves up over. And part of the thing is, I think what we do, we treat voting like supporting a football team. You know, we're either red or we're blue, and that's it. And if you've got the nerve to vote for the wrong colour, even though they might have the most intelligent candidate, or their policies would help you the most, you get fucking guilted into voting for the right colour, so quote unquote right colour.
Yeah.
And that's got to stop.
It has got to stop.
What you need to vote for the wisest person. You need to vote for people that have got true wisdom, that can futurists, not left or right, but forward. People that can see what's coming, see the problems that are coming in the future, plan accordingly, and make sure we're safe. We don't do that anymore. But people that talk about old shit, arguments that have been going on for 50, 100 years. Oh, the left capitalism, socialism sort of debate is over. It's over. It ended in 2008 with the banking crisis, when those banks fucked up the world and we let them all off. Socialism's out. It ain't coming in. It's out. We've got to move on to the next thing now, because that was the chance and you blew it. So we've got to. We're moving on. The robots are coming in anyway, and they're going to take all of our jobs. So forget about socialism. Forget about it. We've got to start worrying about these robots that are coming.
Okay.
And wise people to organise the country so that, you know, we don't end up unemployed and starving. Yeah, carry on.
I'm going to coming back into that one. With the socialism and this and that. It's funny actually, because I was thinking about this. Is if this happens, let's talk. Let's say AI reaches its natural conclusion. You know, like an Elon Musk future, where they are doing everything. Yeah, everything. I've been watching them actually, funny enough, in practical senses. I was watching a port in China, where all of the kind of lorries, but cranes and everything were automated, doing it all. So there's a few humans watching, you know, just to make sure nothing blew up or whatever. I mean, but they were basically automated. And I was watching a hotel, I think it was in China, it might have been Japan, where the thing that walked up and down, cleaning the bathrooms and cleaning each room, basically the care.
Yeah, look like R2D2.
Yeah. R2D2 was wandering up and down, cleaning the fucking skid marks off the toilet and fucking doing everything, man. And I was thinking, yeah, so it's on its way. Something's coming, and it's, you know, it's how fast it happens.
Yeah.
But what I was interested is that working people's power, we don't really use it that much, but in terms of our power and our use, we have majority of people have essentially in every society have that's me, you, most people have essentially one role, and that is to keep it simple, make rich people richer. That's essentially our role. We provide labor, a service, we go to work, we give our time, and the company uses that time to make profit. And that's fine, and that's what it is, and we can argue whether that's good or bad, but that's what it is. You go to work, you give your labor 40 hours a week, whatever, they give you a wage, you go spend it, and, you know, the economy continues to grow that way. But our only power in that sense, you can say voting in theory is one. That's assuming you have a credible voting system where you can vote between real alternatives. That's questionable in the West anyway. I don't know about the rest of the world, but it's certainly in the West. But in terms of our actual traditional power would be things like strike. Striking would be our traditional power. So you would have, if you weren't happy with the conditions at work, you would go on strike and then you would try to get better wages or whatever. But in this, if AI gets to a certain level where it's doing nearly everything, then I'm a bit concerned about what use we have, in sense that if you're the richest people in the world and you've managed to create loads of robots, so you've managed to, you know that you ain't got to worry, your life's fucking sorted. You own all the robots, you're running all the robots, you've got everything you need. They're digging all the coal mines, they're distributing, they're producing everything. What the fuck do they need us for? What do they need me and you for? I mean, let's say it got to a stage where all the army is robots and all the police are robots.
What would that stage with it? I think because you've already got drones and stuff, haven't you?
Yeah.
And I know that in New York, I think they purchased 2 sort of robot police dogs.
Yeah.
I don't know if you've heard about that.
I've seen a few.
There's a robot police dogs, man. I think they cost about 200 grand each or something like that.
50 grand now because a YouTuber bought one the other day for his bedroom just to see it.
What do you mean?
A YouTuber on TikTok, he's quite a rich one that he just wanted to test one. I think he bought one for 25, 50 grand and he was testing
What, a robot police dog?
It wasn't a police dog, but it was the robot dog. Like the proper, it looks the same as them ones, and it was doing the turnaround and the stand up. Yeah, and he was surprised how good it was. It's not like a real dog. Obviously, it's shit compared to a real dog, but it
makes you think though, don't it? Like all these things that happen. Like what the answer to your question is, what use have rich people got for people like me and you? None. Apart from just use this as playthings. So it gets to the point where, fuck it, what are we gonna do with all these people? Maybe we should discourage them from breeding. Shit or maybe we should just inject them with some shit that makes them sterile. Pretend that there's a pandemic and then we can inject them with this shit and just wipe them out in a generation. I know it's conspiracy theory stuff, but if you follow the logic, it does make sense.
It does make sense. I mean, if you accept, then I think this is fair too. If you accept that let's say all the leaders of the world, if you want, fine, we can argue about which one's good or bad, but let's if we accept that they have no problem dropping nuclear weapons on innocent people, they have no problem genocide in Gaza, and this is continuous, Vietnam, whatever, Russia and Ukraine, whichever country, they have no problem sending us to our death. And nearly every government is capable of that. We can argue whether it's right or wrong and the reasons in each one, but they don't send their own kids, obviously, but they don't mind sending us and our children. They don't mind our kids getting bombed if it's in their interest. If I don't see if it got to that stage, why would they want us about to bitch and moan? They need enough of them. They don't want to be on themselves. I imagine they don't want to be banging robots, not unless they got to a certain level. So they're still going to have normal kids, normal humans. They're going to have extended. They're going to have interactions with their own clique of friends, and they're still going to want a few million people on the planet that they're going to want to interact with. You would imagine. But what the fuck do they need the rest of us for? That's the thing. I don't. Would they just create a disease? I don't know, like a COVID 2.0, but an extreme one, and then just kill us off. And then they ain't got to stress. They got the robots to do everything, and they can breed between themselves to have enough people. It's not going to be inbreeding. There'll still be a few million, but they sure as hell don't need 7 billion bitches. Would all be 7 billion people that bitch and cause problems for them. They'd probably rather just not have us.
I mean, I was just thinking as you were talking then, what could the normal person do in this dystopian future that we're talking about? And I thought, okay, maybe they'll have people around just to operate call centers like they do in India and places like that, where if you've got a problem with your robot, you can phone up this number and somebody will talk you through it. But even that will be done by AI eventually.
Of course it will. In that dystopia or utopia, whichever one you want to say, because even with Elon Musk, to be fair, there's one thing I say for me is he does say what he thinks. And I can respect that, whether I agree or not on certain things. But he generally says what he thinks, and I can respect that no matter what. And he was saying it's a little bit like having, you got to watch what you wish for here, because it's a little bit like, because it could be a utopia or a dystopia. He reckons it's probably more likely 80% it'll be a utopia, but he's saying there is a 20% chance it could be a dystopia and it could be hell. And it's a bit like having too many. If you went to a genie in a bottle and you got 1 million wishes, you might have too many. In the end, you just fuck it all up and it'll become hell.
That's true.
So, but the other thing, because our economy is based on growth and since the beginning of time, it's based on growth. And it's for wars or for economic growth, for business growth, for shareholders, whatever it might be. It's based on growth. And in order to have growth, you have to have population growth. But I don't know if with an AI system, whether that's the case. I don't know if growth is still relevant. Do you know what I mean? Because you can just produce the robots. I don't know if there's a need for human growth in that situation.
I'm not. I don't know, to be honest with you. I just want to go back to Elon Musk quickly.
Go on.
You brought
We've
me
got
up on
4
that.
minutes before we have to have a break.
Yeah, sure. I'll try and write this up and put in
Go on.
for that. It's what you were saying about Elon Musk, and as billionaires go, I'm in the camp of I don't mind him because, like you said, he says what he thinks. And the good thing about him is that he's visible. You want to worry about the billionaires that are invisible,
Right?
And are just behind companies like BlackRock and stuff like that, and you never hear them speak. Those are the ones you want to worry about. At least Elon Musk is visible, and what kind of pisses me off is the way the media treats him and that. And yeah, he's an imperfect human being. He does lots of fucked up shit, but he doesn't do anything more fucked up than any other billionaire or whatever. And it seems that people just focus on him. And what pisses me off the most about the way he's covered is a lot of people who attack him personally. Let's say he's an asshole. He's this, he's that. He's a bit flaky. But they never tell you. I heard a journalist say that he's mentally impaired. This guy's mentally impaired, and he meant that as a insult. But the thing is, Elon Musk is mentally impaired because I don't know if you knew this, but he's got Asperger's syndrome. Did you know that?
I do know that he has to have ketamine. He admitted that to help him.
Yeah, so it's got Asperger's syndrome because I remember him doing on Joe Rogan, and he was telling him about it. Because yeah, I've got this condition, blah blah blah. And people with that condition, they're a bit Dolcevich. I mean, it's very politically incorrect me saying it, but they're the type of people that if you went outside and said the sky is blue, they can't handle it. Look at it, blue. It's a bit grey, you know.
Yeah.
They find it incapable to deal with untruths as they see it.
Yeah.
So you have to be really precise in your language and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And it makes them hard to socialise and stuff. Yeah. But on the flip side, they can be really, really intelligent.
Yeah.
So people say Elon Musk is this, Elon Musk is that. But the guy's literally got a mental health condition, and they never give him a break on it. Do you know what I mean? It kind of pisses me off. I think it's a bit disingenuous the way they're reporting it because of that.
I agree. I think it don't help that because he is sympathetic towards Trump. He gets shit for that. He's not allowed to be that. If he was on the other camp, everyone would be good. Everyone was loving him when he did help Sputnik or whatever it's called, that connection in space to help the Ukrainians. But once he started questioning it, then it started to turn against him. We've got 1 minute left, so I'll come out and then we'll carry on.
All right, sure.
Okay. Now, okay, so you carry on then, mate.
Yeah, so what I'm sort of thinking about at the moment is how is this all going to pan out? How is this going to end up looking 20, 50, even 100 years down the line? I know we've touched on maybe the working class being we're getting softened up to be wiped out and whatnot. Do I think that's going to happen? Not exactly. Not exactly. I think if anything, we'll just end up being like a sewer class. We'll just be like you're living in the sewers. We won't be wiped out. We'll just be outside, out of mind.
Like a lithium.
And got all the rich people, fucking half a cyborg. No, I'll tell you what it's going to be like. It's going to be like this. I think in the next 20 or so years, they're going to turn this into. I want to use movies, right? I want to use movies to make it more easy to understand.
Yeah.
It's going to be like living in Demolition Man for the next 20 years. Because I think we already got there already. Because you've got like the people that live above ground and they're all politically correct. They don't have sex. They
Yeah.
don't have sex. They only listen to music for like 5 seconds and shit like
Yeah.
that. They just listen to jingles and stuff like that. We are around the corner from that, if not already there, as far as I'm concerned. So that's what the next sort of like 20 years are going to be like. And eventually, when AI and the robots get really good, I think we're going to be a bit like Ghost in the Shell. I think because what we haven't touched on is
Interesting.
augmentation, where we get we become cyborgs basically. Technology gets integrated with us, and then we become cyborgs.
Go on.
Yeah, some people already say that's already happened with the mobile phone, but the next step is to get the mobile phone actually in us.
Yes.
And I think that'd be around the corner after the Demolition Man era. That's on the corner. It's kind of like Ghost in the Shell.
Yeah.
Where their brains are the ultimate form of this is the brain human, and that's the only thing that is human.
You can plug in. You can plug in, probably wireless, but yeah, you can plug in and plug in the matrix and the system. Yeah.
Well, that comes with its own problems then, because you can have your brain hacked.
Yeah.
And whatnot. And all this stuff is touched on really well in the different Ghost in the Shell animated films and the animated series.
Elysium as well, with that where they live in this on the planet.
Yeah, there might be a bit of that. Well, the next thing I was going to touch on was after the Ghost in the Shell period, where you've got cyborgs happening. I don't think everybody will be enhanced. I think it'll be like upper class, middle class, while they're figuring it out.
Yeah.
And then you'll start having the sewer class, outside, out of mind, living in the sewers with their own economy and whatnot.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
And then
like hand-me-downs, second-hand cyborgs and stuff. Yeah.
Eating rat burgers and whatnot. And you're still allowed to swear. But and you've got
all drugged up on a new drug, a really AI developed drug of some kind, maybe.
Maybe. But and then the next stage will be sort of altered, and I think this is the ultimate stage that I want. Like, Altered Carbon. There's a show that I recommended to you a few years ago. You blew it off.
I did.
But then they effectively perfected immortality, because what they had was like a disc that they could insert into the back of their heads, which had all the fucking code for their life. And once the body runs out, they can just take the disc out, put it into a fresh body. And that's what the rich ultimately want: immortality in a young body forever.
Yeah.
And they had like they had like a cloning chamber. They'd have loads of clones of themselves in their prime.
Yeah.
It's living one body for 50 years, burn it out, take the chip out, put it into another body.
Like Moon as well. That's just clones, but go on.
Yeah. I remember Moon. Yeah.
Can I?
That's. Go on. No, go on.
I was going to. Yeah, it's funny because this is on my list to talk about here, and the reason it's on the list because it's one of the most futuristic. It's mad to think he's a professional and he's one of the big. You might have heard of him. You heard of? Is it Ray Kurzweil?
That name sounds familiar.
Yeah. Okay. Now I was watching him. He was on Joe Rogan, and he's one of the earlier ones on it. He's about 65 now. And
is that boring? Is that boring? When I said this guy's just too boring.
I don't think he. I don't. He's weird. He's weird. Weird mannerism. It seems to take forever to answer a question.
Yeah, he's boring. He's boring. He was just too boring. I was interested in the subject, but this guy is just too boring.
Okay. Yes. Well, let me. Because I watched quite a bit of him because I found him interesting in the sense of because Joe Rogan, because he was so getting pissed off with what he was projecting and saying that he was starting to not letting him answer the questions because he took quite a long time to answer the questions. Yeah. And Joe Rogan was impatient and couldn't handle waiting. And he was so frustrated.
He ruined the show. Sorry, I keep jumping in, but I can't help it.
Yeah, he was so frustrated with the time it was taking to and the answers it was saying. And because Ray Kurzweil was saying things and he was saying they were positives and Joe Rogan weren't having it. And that's fine. But anyhow, some of the things he was saying. Now, he was saying things like it will end disease, pretty much all disease. He's saying that that's going to happen. He was saying that some of the mental things, because also when he was speaking, I'm pretty certain. Now, I'm not guessing, but this is what it seemed like he was getting. He thinks he's going to live forever because he
He
thinks
thinks he's going to live forever.
because he thinks it's coming in his like he's 65 and he thinks that's why he's taking care of himself. He's eating all these fucking vitamins left, right, and center because
Exactly.
he thinks he's going to live. He reckons the technology is going to come in and he's rich. So he
Yeah.
thinks he might actually avoid death because there's enough time for AI to happen fast enough to save him.
Okay.
Now, he
interesting.
was saying that you are going, this is mind boggling, but this is going back to kind of Ghost in the Cell. Some of the shit he's saying, as crazy as any movie I've seen, certainly up there. He was saying that you are going to get to a stage where you will be able to go into a machine and change everything about you. You will be able to change your color, your race, similar kind of thing, but your sexual, everything, your size, your build, and you'll also be able to change different
Your
animals.
species.
Hey, hang on, yeah, animals. He was saying you'll be able to change different animals. You'll be able to go travel around the earth as an eagle for 6 months, whatever it might be. And Rogan was saying, "What the fuck are you on about?" He said, "What kind of world is this? Even if this is possible, how is this a good thing?" And he was saying, "Well, why isn't it a good thing? Why?
Yeah.
Why shouldn't wouldn't it be good to be able to do these things? Nobody will have to work. Everybody will be just living in this weird scenario that he's on about." He's saying, to lack of a better term, he's kind of projected that nothing's off the cards.
Yeah, I think this guy's a psychopath.
Fair
I
enough.
think he's got a problem. I think he's disconnected from his humanity. And this is there's another thing that I want, another work of fiction I want to bring up.
Go on.
It's quite old actually now, but it's called it's a book called I think it's called The Neuromancer. And it came out in the early 80s. And this was during the 80s, we had a really, partly going back to our previous podcast, the Blade Runner films come out, and that created an explosion of cyberpunk fiction. And one of the most famous works of fiction from this era was the book called The Neuromancer. And I haven't read it, but I know what it's about. And it's, to be honest, I don't think I could get into it. It's very esoteric. Meaning you've got that,
what's that word mean? I don't know what that word means. Eccentric?
It means, in a nutshell, it contains a lot of specialist knowledge.
Okay.
So for a layman to get into that book, they're going to get lost.
Okay.
I've reached an age now where I've been into cyberpunk for a while now. So I could read it, but even it deals with things that even leave me cold. That's how specialist knowledge it is. And it touches on the things that you've just spoken about, where humanity gets to a stage where it's that advanced, it no longer becomes humanity. And that's back when I check out. And you've got a situation where you've got an AI, an artificial intelligence, and it's seeking another artificial intelligence from outer space, and they're going to merge together and become a new species.
Yeah.
I check out of this because it's gone so far. Humanity is off the table. It's just something that I just cannot really
get into.
Compute my brain. But this is the kind of shit that guy's into. He just thinks, he just sees humanity as ones and zeros. That's it.
Yeah.
And flesh, the soul, he doesn't give a shit. It means nothing to him. And he's so rich and so removed from them. People like that are dangerous. Go on.
Sorry. I don't know if it's the rich element is the necessarily part of it, because I found him interesting. I'm not saying I want a world where I can, skip out the door and then change into an eagle, come back later as an elephant. I don't know if I want that world. I don't want that world, actually.
I don't.
But at the same time, some of the other things, because don't forget, within this, there is going to be legality and illegality. There's going to be laws. There's going to be governance. So there is going to be things stopping certain mental shit, I'd imagine. Who knows? But he was saying that, just little things like, can I ask you a question? I'll ask you a question, because there was something. He was saying that, it's not that unlikely, that life expectancy may jump up 30 years initially and then so on, and maybe up to 200 years, stuff like that. That's even without us being completely artificial, essentially. Well, if you had a chance, you had a chance right now, and they say, okay, Simon, we're going to pilot this now. You got a choice. You can just carry on about your business, or we're going to test some. It's not even a test. They know it's going to work because they've already done other people. It's quite common. They're going to. You won a raffle. You've won a raffle. You can either win £1 million or win £1 million and then you live till you're 80, or you can have just carry on about your life, but we put some wires through you. Still pretty much, you're still the same. We're going to whack some wires through you, but you get to live for 500 years.
Yeah.
What do you choose?
I take the 500 years.
See, this is interesting. So what he's saying isn't that mental in that sense, then is it? Because you're saying you don't want you also want to live a long fucking time. So if the software and the system's there to offer you 500 years, you're interested in the 500 years. And I have to say, it'd be difficult question for me.
Yeah, I don't think there's anything necessarily wrong with that. I want to live 500 years as a human being, not as a cartridge that you can just plug in, plug out of a fucking computer or whatever. I want to live as it. I wish that the human lifespan was longer than it is. I think part of the reason why we have so many wars and shit like that is because our lifespan is relatively short.
Before years ago, I won't remember
our intelligence and stuff like that. If everybody had a lifespan of 500 years, we'd probably think twice a little bit more about taking a life, because you're taking away so much more as opposed to sort of 80 years if we're lucky. I don't know. What do you think? Do you think? Because it's always sad when somebody kills like a whale, right? Because they live for decades and decades and decades, as opposed to killing a fly that only lives for like a few days. Nobody gives a fuck about that. And I think the big part of the reason of that is because one's got such a short lifespan as opposed to the other, which is potentially lived so long and it's seen so much history. So
I don't agree with that. Quickly throw in an example. We'll jump in quickly with an example here.
Fine, yeah.
People would have less of a problem killing a turtle, which lives for 90 years, than a cat that lives for 15 years. Not in China, but I mean in England. I
think so.
By my name, we used to have turtle shells. I mean, I've got one in my house actually. It's a turtle shell, which were from a
turtle shell.
Turtle shell, you know, the back thing.
Oh, turtle shell,
painted. Yeah. Got it from Africa or Singapore or somewhere, I can't remember. But it's painted. So yeah, a turtle was killed, you know, same as ivory. You know, elephants live till they're 90. I mean, now we care, but I'm not convinced that's the reason. I mean, it's a good point, but I'm not convinced that's the reason that's going to. I understand the logic that. Yeah. I do agree, essentially. I agree that if we knew we were going to live for 500 years, I think it would significantly reduce the pressures, the aggression, the constant rat race of chasing to succeed.
Possibly, yeah. There's that as well. Yeah.
I definitely agree with that logic. So, yeah, let's say I fundamentally, I essentially agree with what you're saying. So, but you would take this on some of the mental stuff that he is saying is going to happen. You would embrace some of it because he was only saying 200 years. I just threw it up to 500 years there anyway. He reckons 200 years is plausible.
No, I think I'm all good for life extension. It's just it's not necessarily just because I'm good for life extension doesn't mean I want the robots to take over all the jobs.
If
like this guy, and that I want people to jump into fucking the body of an artificial fucking snake or something. It was interesting because that show that I told you about, Altered Carbon, when they've got the chips that they can just take out the back of the necks and stuff. There's this one part where this woman, because there's this guy that she doesn't like or whatever, and she had it arranged for him to have his chip taken out of his neck and put into an artificial snake.
Yeah.
And apparently, because he's a human and he's in the body of a snake, apparently it sent him insane.
No shit, yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So I don't think we should be messing around with that. I don't think we should be, human beings should be like in the bodies of different species and stuff.
So
we're fucking going there. We're going there. Go on.
I mean, that was some of the mental shit he's saying. So, but would you embrace the Well, he was saying other stuff like he said it won't be that long before, you won't have to worry about being hit by a car so much because, if as long as your brain's still intact, you'd be fine anyway. But either way, you'll probably just have a replacement anyway because it'll be, your consciousness will be downloaded anyway. A bit like,
Yeah.
have you ever seen what's that program? Upload. So it's a light-hearted AI.
No.
Basically, the basic grasp of this is quite interesting. It's quite unique in this sense. Everyone still dies, but you can upload your consciousness for essentially ever. So you don't have a body no more, but you're still you. And you go to a software system where everyone else that's died is still there, and people from the real world can upload to come and speak to you and interact with you. He's saying funny enough, he himself has already produced a kind of version of this of his dad.
Yeah.
He can't visualize it. He isn't. The technology weren't there good enough to do, but he's managed to create it. He talks to his dad, who's dead.
Yeah. I think he's kidding themselves. I don't think this. The process of digitizing yourself. A part of me does believe that it ain't you. The minute you become a memory card, it ain't fucking you anymore. And just to go back to like AI and stuff like that, I watched the documentary about Andy Warhol. I think this was last year. It was a year ago. This technology was available. Don't know if you know who Andy Warhol is, but he was an artist. He died in the late 80s. Very famous artist. But he was an obsessive diary writer. So they took his diaries, produced this sort of documentary exploring his life, and it was narrated. They got an AI version of his voice to narrate the documentary, reading the diary entries. It was an absolutely fantastic documentary, but at the same time, it was a little bit eerie hearing Andy Warhol's voice talking about his life and after he's dead. It was kind of scary, but it was really interesting.
Yeah.
It was a really interesting effect. It was a really interesting documentary. But
send me that when you remember. Sorry, send me that one because that actually sounds interesting. Go on, but go on.
It's on Netflix. It's like a series though. It's like eight episodes or something.
Okay.
But something interesting happened to me as well. I go on YouTube and I listen to podcasts on YouTube. There's a comic book podcast that I listen to where this guy talks about comic books. Not just the mainstream ones, but about indie ones and stuff like that as well, that I follow. And I was listening to this guy for about a year or two. And all of a sudden, again, this was about last year, he brought one out. I don't know, I think people were like questioning whether or not it was AI. It was an AI voice. So he put out a video just saying, yeah, it's true, I'm AI. And not only am I AI, but I'm based off a real person, and I died in 2018. And before I died, they completely digitized my voice, all this, and that's what you're hearing now.
Yeah.
And it blew my mind. I'm like, I thought this was a real person. I thought I was listening to a real person. Not only am I not listening to a real person, but the person actually lived and has been dead for like 5 years.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh man. And then it's funny because from that experience, whenever I'm listening to something on YouTube or whatever, or a podcast, or you get these videos normally about celebrities and stuff, I know it's an AI voice now. I can tell the verbal tics that the AI does and stuff like that. It's particularly when they can't pronounce names. They pronounce hard G's instead of silent G's and stuff like that. And or they pronounce a name differently in the same video. It's AI. And it's fucking scary as fuck. You don't know what's real anymore. What's reality?
Right. I'd noticed, funny enough, a while ago on Facebook this profile, and she always used to say really good political stuff that I supported, really good political protest stories and positions or whatever. But it was this picture, and it looked real, but it was fit, and I was like, how can this like fit bird like in a bikini He's
Yeah.
like saying all this clever political shit. Not that a fit bird in a political bikini, bikini couldn't say clever shit, but it just seemed fucking bullshit. And then it weren't to ages, like because obviously AI had come along. I'm a bit behind the curve on this, and I figured this out.
Yeah,
like,
I think you're ahead of most people, Rich.
Maybe that's only because I have the time to watch it now. I mean, I've had to really catch up fast. But there was something I was going to say then, and before I move on to the next thing I was going to ask you. Okay,
Oh,
well,
I'll do that, Jim.
I'll jump onto something quickly then, unless you want to carry on.
I can't go on, mate.
Okay. Now, another spin on this, because obviously of what I understand, there's three centers of AI. You've got America, which is the leader, China that's second, and Europe's trying to have a piece. Probably be shit. I mean, it'd probably be America and China that would really be the main powers there. Because I went on ChatGPT, and this is only a limited one, but I was asking some questions because I was interested to just see what it would be like. Now I asked it questions, just neutral questions in a sense. I was like, oh, okay, what is the reason? Why did Russia invade Ukraine? Or is Russia a democracy? Is America a democracy? The kind of questions. And it came back with answers which were quite impartial. Like not much better than I would have done if I'd Google searched. I probably would have found better answers myself, but it came back with not really it was a neutral position of using evidence in the sense that this is what happened, this is what they say, this is why, these are the arguments, neutral stuff. So whereas then I went on to asking it because I was always thinking, then I asked it about things like gender.
Right, yeah.
Now it started changing the way it answers questions. This is what I found quite disturbing actually, because I was asking questions, what is a man? What is a woman? Stuff like this, different ways. And unlike the political questions with Ukraine or a democracy or whatever, it was just giving you information from an observer position. With gender and stuff like that, it started saying you must. It was saying things like blah, 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 blah. You must respect this, or you should. It was using them kind of words which imply it is right. You should do this. And what made me realize is that obviously these things are programmed by humans. At the moment, I mean, it will get to the stage where it's not listening to this stupid human and starts making its own fucking things. And it starts, which might be a good thing, I don't know. But if, let's say, America are making sophisticated AI and getting the ball rolling, and China are doing it, and they are very different in terms of how they see the world. They're both market economies, but in other things, they are very. I'll give you a clear example between America and China. Okay, now this is an objective standpoint. Don't have to like either or anything. America, I'm going to keep it just to America and China. America, largely, the government, the population as a whole, but certainly the government and the institutions are largely work in a position of win-lose. So in game theory, you've got win-lose, yeah? China see the world as a win-win scenario. So whenever they are looking for something, they're looking for a way they and the other person win. Yeah. America don't do that. They look at a position of how we win and they lose. Now, that's whether that will change, whether China will become more like win-lose or whatever, but it's not really talked about that much. But I mean, I just talked about this when I did game theory in my degree, and this was kind of things to talk about.
Is this your thesis? Your thesis, Rich, or is this taken from some?
There's a lot of professors that will say similar kind of thing. China does have.
It doesn't matter. Hang on, you don't have to qualify it. If this was just your thesis, to me, it holds just as much value as anything that a professor would say. It makes sense to me what you just said.
Okay. Oh, but
I just wanted to know if you self-generated it or not.
Okay. No, I have read this, and also I have watched a lot of Chinese politicians, the way they speak, and as opposed to American ones, they're not an aggressive nature. Certainly not to America. I mean, you could argue whether it's some of the regional countries there. That's a different discussion, but it's always looking for a win-win scenario because that makes sense.
Yeah.
Right. Whether you're good or bad, no values, it just makes sense to look for win-win. America's is a little bit more emotional in the sense of looking for win-lose, and it's always fearing the other country. But I'm not getting into the politics. But my point was, if AI is being made by these two different ones, and I know they're all kind of interconnected in a business sense, but will that, going back to the one with gender and it was starting to make its own opinion. Is that because it's been programmed to push this kind of thing and create this as a right or wrong? Do you know what I mean? Would America and China create different kinds of AI? If they was to go into, if it was to get for the sophisticated level where you're creating robots, or even, you know, like in Alien, or you see this in various movies where Mother, just they call it Mother sometimes. So to be this overpowering software system, which is the all-knowing, all-controlling system. Yeah.
In some films they call it Skynet.
Yeah, Skynet, whatever. Well, it's different in different movies, but this system, which is more powerful because it's cleverer than the government, would it be a different one based on who's made it? Or would it automatically, because it's so clever, create the same one because it's so clever? If you understand what I mean?
I know what you mean. I mean, it ties into that book that I just mentioned earlier. It's called The Neuromancer, where the AI, or the mother, seeks AI from outer space to become a new species, get to the next stage of its evolution. That could happen here. You could have the Chinese AI and the American AI start out differently. Then they find it, then they become curious and they find each other, and then, I don't know, create something completely new, which nobody's predicted. And that turns out to be Skynet and kills us all. No one knows.
Always comes back to Skynet with you. You're not very optimistic about it.
We're opening Pandora's box, and
oh yeah,
this would probably be a good way to end it. But do you know the Legend of Pandora? Do you know what it's based off? Do you know what it's like? Whole story of it?
No.
Oh, I could tell you then, because this is a cautionary tale, and it comes from Greek mythology, and it's basically to do with the gods and mankind. And in Greek mythology, mankind's made, I don't know if you know this, but mankind is made from clay. The first one was, it was made from clay.
Okay.
And it was given, I think Prometheus made mankind from clay. Zeus told him, make some beings that worship us, go. And Prometheus comes up with,
I should know this from the one of the movies, but go on.
Yeah, Prometheus makes man out of clay, and all the gods are impressed. So they say, "Oh, good job. Can you do it again?" You know. So he runs away and he creates woman, and the first woman's called Pandora, and the gods are absolutely blown away. All the Greek gods are so blown away that they they have like a little party, and they're all going to give gifts to Pandora, and all the gods give her gifts and stuff and whatnot. And Zeus, because he's a bit shady, he gives her like it's in different ways of telling the story. It's different. Basically, it's a box. It's a box.
Yeah.
In some stories, it's a dresser. Basically, something that you can open, right? Yeah. She can keep all her makeup in or whatever. Whatever. Let's call it a box. So Zeus gives her a box, and he says, it's a beautiful box. Pandora, you can do whatever you want with this box, but don't open it.
I knew you were going to say that. Go on.
All right. And Pandora's cool, and she lives with her male counterpart for centuries, decades, centuries, whatever, in harmony. It's like being in the Garden of Eden, you could say. But she's got this nagging curiosity. She wants to know what's in that bloody box. So one day she goes against Zeus's word and opens the box. And as she opens it, out pops all the bad shit in the world today. So out pops death, out pops fucking famine, out pops disease, out pops fucking every fucking horror you can imagine. Comes out and is released into the world because Pandora opened the box. Now, yeah, there's an ending. There's two endings to the story that I've heard, and I don't know which one is the official ending, but both of them are kind of equally bad in their own way. Now, the first ending is, as Pandora opens this box, all this shit comes out. She tries to react and close the box, right? And she fucks up even more, because when she closes the box, she keeps one thing in it, and that one thing is hope. So,
okay.
Well, she did let hope escape. So we basically live hopeless lives full of horrors and torment. The second version of the story is that Pandora doesn't close the box quick enough, and that hope escapes. It's the last thing that escapes. And some people say that's an optimistic ending. It means that mankind's got hope. But some people say that it's not an optimistic ending. It's even worse because we've got hope. It means that we endure all the other horrible shit instead of just killing ourselves and just be done with it.
Yeah.
So that's kind of what we've got now. We've got the people like that bloke you just mentioned, that weirdo bloke that wants to live his life in a fucking eagle. They're about to open Pandora's box, and we want to be fucking careful because we've got no idea what's going to come out of it.
Yeah.
And people, we need to get the wise people together. We need wise people in charge. What makes it worse is that we've got some of the most stupidest people in charge at the moment.
Yeah.
And I'm scared. I'm scared. We've got Pandoras all over the world just fucking getting ready to open their boxes and fuck our shit up, man. It's
I say I'm not scared, but but anyhow, I just want to quickly jump in. I've covered the things I wanted to cover, but there was something actually popped into my head I want to quickly discuss. Because I was speaking to a few, and this sounds like this is going to happen very soon. This will happen in the next 5 years, no question about it. You will be having a conversation with AI that is better than anyone else you speak to. Think about that.
Well, you think so?
No, that's what no, I don't know it, but I've seen a few say that. They say, have you seen the movie Her with Joaquin Phoenix?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So he falls in love with that, essentially, doesn't he?
Yeah.
That is coming very soon, in the next 5 years. You will have on your phone, you will be able to have these mind-boggling conversations and challenging conversations, maybe even intimate in terms of how you would like the person's voice, if I don't know, depending on that what situation you go with. But you will be having these really in-depth conversations with an AI on your phone. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I believe that. Yeah.
Oh, you believe that? Yeah. You're not bothered by that.
This is already there. You've got Siri on the fucking phone. You've got the Amazon thing where you can ask it shit now.
Yeah, but that isn't what that is. That's not what that is. I mean, I've tried a few of them. Same as ChatGPT and that other software. I know we're not there yet, but none of these things. Asking a computer, I don't know, some bullshit question is not the same as what me and you are doing right now. I'm on about an AI that's going to be that may even make you feel like a fucking idiot because you'll be talking to it and you'll be putting your point and it may be diffusing your point, or it may even encourage you or inspire you. Who knows? You may even fall in love with it if it's got a nice voice. I mean, if it gets to the stage where it's got a face and everything. And I mean, I'm fascinated to see what happens. So I think, like you, I think it's very scary shit. But at the same time, I am glad I'm alive to see it. I hope I see it. I want to see it because I ain't got long to live. The worst thing that's going to happen is it's going to come in. I'm going to get to live forever, or it's going to kill me. I ain't that far away from dying. I feel no, from a selfish point of view. That's the selfish. I do feel a bit worried for my daughter, and if I have a kid with my missus, another one, then I am a little bit nervous then. Because what I understand is teachers, that's very soon as well. Teachers are fucked. They're gone. Yeah. They're not clever enough. They're not going to compete with this. I mean, this is very soon. In China,
though. That's another job that's going. That's another job that's going, definitely. Yeah.
My job's safer than that, I would argue. I mean, I've watched in China, they're already starting to adapt this kind of stuff already with the teachers and that. A lot of this started with COVID. I don't want to be conspiracy theory either. We've got 3 minutes left, so I don't really want to open up another one. So
I mean,
so I'm going to rush through this. We'll get this one done now. But I forgot what I was going to say now. I went off the subject.
Oh, have a think about it. I'll just say quickly. I'll try and close up. I think it's going to get to a point where people have got to decide where they stand. I know where I stand already. I'm pretty prejudiced against machines. I'm John Connor. I believe I'm the opposite of that guy. That guy that you spoke about earlier, he scares me. He'll see artificial intelligence as the same as organic intelligence. I don't They're toasters. That's it. I will not sign on if they bring out a law saying, we need to give AI rights and stuff like that. I ain't signing on to any of that bullshit. It's a fucking robot. It's a toaster. They're not the same as us. And I don't want them in charge. I don't want them in
Can I
charge.
just quickly jump in?
What?
If it looks like a human, talks like a human, it's walking around like a human, and it cries,
Not a human.
sad, can you?
Not
No,
a
but,
human.
no, but
It's a robot.
it's not a human. Does that not mean it deserves rights?
It's a robot. It's my card is a robot. It's a robot at the end of the day. Not more rights than a human being.
I'm not saying it has more rights, but maybe
I'm
equal
driving
rights.
Yeah, but I'm putting the line in the sand now.
Okay.
And it is interesting because this reminds me of Star Trek.
Westworld.
No.
Okay.
Star Trek: The Next Generation, which is a better series. It is 10 times better than Westworld. Westworld's nonsense.
That's a subject, that is. You're thinking of Captain
It's
Kirk.
stupid. Some of that stuff in there is stupid. But Star Trek: Next Generation touches on this stuff even better with the character of Data, who is an android. And he's so well put together that sometimes you can forget that he is an android, and people, are friends with him. Some women have even fell in love with him. But there was this great episode where he actually gets into a relationship with somebody, and he's kind of treating it as an experiment because he's always trying to get more human because he's got no emotions. He hasn't got an emotion chip, and that's like his holy grail. He's like Pinocchio, he's trying to become a real boy. So he goes and he's got this work colleague, and
1 minute ESI.
yeah, I know. All right, yeah. Long story short, it don't work out. And it was interesting at the end of it. And at the end of it, though, he just deletes the memory of it. He just deletes it, like the same way I would just throw away trash. And it dawned on you that he's just a fucking robot. He ain't a human being. He wasn't really invested. He's just creating a subroutine where he pretended to be in a relationship with somebody and pretended to care. He didn't really care because he's a robot. And that's what people have got to. Just because it looks human, it fucking isn't. It's a machine.
Unless you want to carry on after the one. Either leave it now or carry on. Your choice.
Nah, leave it. We'll leave it.
We'll leave it now then. I'll phone you. Okay.
All right, mate. Cheers.
See you later.
All right, see you later.